Hard times arrive without warning, and when they do, they tear away every illusion you carry about yourself. They strip you down to the version of you that cannot be faked. In comfort, anyone can speak of strength, discipline, confidence, and ambition, but when pressure tightens its grip, only the few who are built for endurance show their true shape. Hard moments are not unfair, they are simply unmasked truth. They reveal whether your courage is a costume or a core, whether your will is a performance or a weapon. When the going gets hard, life is not punishing you, it is assessing you. It wants to know what lives behind your words, what stands behind your dreams, what remains when excuses dissolve and comfort retreats into the shadows. You must understand that difficulty is not a sign of failure, but a sign that your path is significant. Nothing worth attaining arrives unchallenged, and anyone who promises an easy ascent is offering a fantasy meant for children, not for those who seek dominion over their own lives. When you face hardship, you must recognize that it is not merely an obstacle, but a test designed for separation. Good times group people together, but adversity sorts them apart. Some will complain and curse the weight on their shoulders. Others will break completely, seeking pity instead of progress. Yet a rare few will see hardship as a furnace meant to strengthen iron. They will tighten their posture, regulate their emotions, rearrange their priorities, and embrace the discomfort as a training ground. Hard times reveal who is fit to endure because they expose the thinness of excuses and the thickness of character. You may think you know your limits, but struggle is the true instructor, showing you how much of your potential remains dormant beneath hesitation and fear. The ones who rise are not those who avoid difficulty. They are the ones who walk through it with calculation, discipline, and a quiet refusal to collapse. You must understand something crucial. Life does not become easier, you become sharper. The mountain does not shrink to accommodate you, you grow stronger to conquer it. Hard moments exist to refine you, not to ruin you. They take away the unnecessary, the weak, the unfocused parts of you that weigh you down. They force you to confront your inner frailties, your false beliefs, and your self-imposed limitations. When everything around you becomes heavy, you learn that you must carry yourself first before you can carry anything else. Hardship exposes the truth about your resilience, and resilience is not built in comfort. It is shaped in chaos. If you only train under perfect circumstances, you will fall apart the moment conditions change. But if you learn to adapt to withstand, to navigate uncertainty without surrendering your composure, then life will find it increasingly difficult to break you. Those who endure are not necessarily the strongest in physical strength or the most brilliant in intellect. They are the ones who remain unshaken when everything turns against them. They do not seek praise for enduring. They endure because they understand the alternative is to remain powerless. Hard times reveal this distinction clearly. The weak seek escape, insisting the world is unfair. The strong seek understanding, insisting they must grow. The weak want someone to rescue them. The strong become their own rescue. The weak wait for life to change. The strong change themselves until life responds. This is the difference between those who stay broken and those who rise from the same pain with sharper eyes and stronger will. In the face of adversity, you must not ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but instead, "What is this trying to shape within me?" Pain is not your enemy, it is your architect. It forces you to develop endurance, discipline, emotional control, and strategic thinking. It removes complacency and replaces it with hunger. It eliminates laziness and strengthens resolve. When life presses down on you, it is not trying to crush you but to carve you. Pressure only destroys what is hollow. What is solid becomes more defined under weight. You must choose which one you will be. Hard times are not concerned with your comfort or convenience. They exist to separate those who merely talk about greatness from those who are forged into it. When everything becomes difficult, remember that difficulty is proof of progress. It is the signal that you are stepping beyond the boundaries of your previous self. It is the atmosphere in which transformation takes place. And though others may retreat or curse their misfortune, you must remain steady, because endurance is not a luxury for the ambitious. It is a requirement. The world does not care who you intend to become. It only responds to who you prove yourself to be under pressure. Hard times are that proof. They reveal whether you are built for fleeting dreams or lasting conquest. They reveal whether your spirit bends or breaks. They reveal, finally and without disguise, who is truly fit to endure when life becomes difficult. Most people immediately look outward, searching for a cause, an enemy, or a circumstance to blame. They point at the world as if the world is where their suffering originates. But the truth that few have the discipline to face, is that the first battleground is not external but internal. Before anything defeats you outside, something within you must first surrender. It is not chaos around you that destroys you. It is the chaos inside you that goes ungoverned. Hard times do not break you because they are too great. They break you because your mind is untrained, unfortified, and easily seized by fear, doubt, and emotional turbulence. To gain control over your life, you must first seize control of the one territory that is fully yours, your inner world. When your emotions run without discipline, your decisions become weak, your perspective narrows, and your strength dissolves. Fear exaggerates threats until everything seems impossible. Doubt whispers that you are incapable before you even attempt anything. Anxiety convinces you that the future is doomed before it even unfolds. These inner forces, if left unchecked, can turn even small challenges into overwhelming storms. You may believe that circumstances are responsible for your suffering, but in reality, it is your reaction that defines the extent of your struggle. Two people can face the same obstacle. One collapses, the other rises. The difference lies not in the challenge itself, but in the mastery of their inner world. Control of the mind does not mean the absence of emotion. It means the refusal to be ruled by it. There will be moments when fear hits you without warning, when frustration tightens your chest, when uncertainty clouds your thinking. But you must learn to observe these emotions without bowing to them. When you become aware of your inner turmoil instead of consumed by it, you cut off its power. This awareness is the first step toward internal sovereignty. Your mind must become a fortress, not an open gate. You must guard it with discipline and clarity, allowing no emotion to enter without being questioned, weighed, and understood. If you do not regulate your thoughts, they will regulate you. If you do not direct your emotions, they will mislead you. And if you do not train your focus, it will scatter into weakness. When everything seems to fall apart, your instinct may be to react impulsively, to panic, to rush for solutions, to escape discomfort. But raw reaction is the surest path to failure. Every meaningful victory in life begins with stillness. Before warriors step onto the battlefield, they steady their breathing. Before strategists make decisions, they quiet their noise. Before leaders move their people, they clarify their own minds. You must do the same. Silence the internal storm before executing any external action. A mind that is uncalm cannot make wise decisions. A mind that is unfocused cannot see opportunity. A mind that is disordered cannot build anything lasting. Master yourself first, then master the world. Understand that emotional control is not coldness, it is intelligence. It is the understanding that your emotions are tools, not rulers. Anger, when controlled, becomes fuel. Fear, when understood, becomes caution. Pain, when examined, becomes instruction. Even disappointment, when faced directly, becomes a redirection towards something better. But these transformations only happen when you govern your emotions instead of allowing them to overthrow your clarity. Inner strength is forged not by suppressing feelings, but by learning to channel them. It is not the absence of emotion that makes someone powerful, but the discipline to act independently of them. People often underestimate the cost of internal chaos. They think stress, overthinking, and emotional instability are minor inconveniences. They are not. They are fractures in the foundation of your mind, and if they are not repaired, every plan you build on that foundation will eventually collapse. Your goals will lose direction. Your discipline will weaken. Your ambition will fade. The The greatest threats to your success are not external enemies. They are internal patterns that you refuse to confront. And the longer you avoid dealing with your inner turmoil, the more control it gains over your actions, your habits, and your identity. Control of the inner world is not a single moment of strength. It is a daily practice. It requires awareness of what you think, what you feel, and why you respond the way you do. It requires building habits that reinforce calmness and clarity. It requires questioning narratives that weaken you and replacing them with ones that fortify your resolve. It requires choosing discipline over impulse, focus over distraction, and strategic patience over emotional reactions. You train your mind the same way you train your body, through consistency, discomfort, and practice. As hardship intensifies, you will notice that people who lack internal control begin to unravel. They blame everything around them while ignoring the storm within. They react without strategy, speak without thought, and choose without clarity. They drown in their own ungoverned emotions. But those with inner discipline remain composed while others crumble. They see the truth that the world cannot break someone who rules themselves. They understand that power begins internally long before it manifests externally. They know that once they control their inner turmoil, their outer world becomes easier to shape, influence, and dominate. Hardship is the one resource every human receives without asking. Yet only a few know how to refine it into something powerful. Most people look at their struggles as curses, as misfortunes that have arrived to derail their path. But those who understand the mechanics of power see hardship differently. They see it as raw material, unshaped energy, pressure that can be redirected, and pain that can be sharpened into something that cuts through weakness. Hardship, when interpreted correctly, becomes a weapon no enemy can extinguish. It becomes a source of strength that cannot be stolen, a form of clarity that cannot be taught in comfort, and a type of resilience that cannot be faked. Your suffering is not for nothing. It is waiting to be reforged into something formidable. To turn hardship into a weapon, the first shift must happen in perception. If you view your pain as punishment, it will break you. If you view it as preparation, it will transform you. Most people are defeated not by the magnitude of their problems, but by the meaning they assign to them. They tell themselves their circumstances are unfair, that fate has targeted them, that their difficulty is a sign they are not capable enough. These stories weaken them more than the struggle itself. But if you change the story, if you decide that struggle is sharpening you, toughening you, teaching you, evolving you, then every hardship becomes fuel instead of poison. The moment you reinterpret your difficulty, you reclaim your strength. Hardship is also a mirror. It reveals what you tolerate, what you fear, what you avoid, and what you refuse to change. It forces you to confront your weaknesses instead of hiding behind excuses. When something goes wrong, when life becomes heavy, when plans fall apart, that is the moment the world gives you data about who you currently are. Instead of collapsing under the weight of your challenges, you must study them. Ask yourself what this moment exposes about you, what truths it is trying to pull out of the shadows, what habits or beliefs must no longer survive if you want to rise to the next level. Hardship reflects the parts of you that need refinement, and if you are willing to observe without lying to yourself, you will discover exactly where to aim your transformation. Turning hardship into a weapon also requires the ability to reallocate energy. Pain generates immense emotional force, anger, frustration, disappointment, grief, fear. Most people let these emotions rot inside them, turning them into self-destruction. But you must redirect these emotions into action. Anger can be rechanneled into discipline, frustration into improved strategy, disappointment into renewed hunger, and fear into calculated caution. When you learn to repurpose emotional energy instead of drowning in it, you unlock a source of strength that others waste. This is how hardship becomes weaponized. You turn every emotional blow into momentum, every setback into information, and every loss into pressure that pushes you forward instead of backward. A person who has suffered deeply and transformed their suffering into strength is someone the world finds difficult to defeat. They do not panic over small problems because they have been tempered by larger ones. They do not crumble when they face opposition because they have endured worse. They do not fear future storms because they carry the memory of surviving previous ones. Hardship, once processed and repurposed, becomes a shield that protects you from future blows and a blade that cuts through future obstacles. People who have never suffered, or who have only escaped their suffering, do not develop this level of armor. Their confidence is fragile because it has never been tested. But your confidence, forged in adversity, can become unshakable. Turning hardship into a weapon also means using what you've learned to outmaneuver life itself. When you endure difficulty, you gain insight that the untested will never possess. You understand human behavior more clearly because hardship exposes the motives of others. You learn to detect loyalty, manipulation, truth, deception, weakness, and strength, not because someone taught you, but because your experiences carved these understandings into your mind. You learn what triggers your emotions and how to control them. You learn where your limits lie and how to push past them. You learn which paths lead to progress and which lead to destruction. Hardship becomes your teacher, and the lessons it gives you become strategies you use to navigate future challenges with precision. Many people want strength but reject the experiences required to build it. They want clarity but avoid the discomfort that creates it. They want resilience but refuse to endure anything that might test them. You cannot become powerful while insisting on ease. A sword cannot remain dull and call itself a weapon. It must be shaped in fire, hammered with force, chilled in water, sharpened on stone. Strength is forged through friction. Hardship is the fire that prepares you. Without it, you remain blunt and easily broken. With it, you become capable of cutting through situations that would shatter the unrefined. When life strikes you, you have two choices: recoil or convert. Recoiling leads to stagnation, bitterness, and repeated suffering. But conversion, turning hardship into mastery, leads to evolution. Every challenge you face is an invitation to rise. Every pain you endure is a chance to sharpen your insight. Every failure you encounter is a blueprint for your next attempt. When you embrace this truth fully, your adversity becomes an asset. You begin to see hardship not as an end, but as the beginning of renewed power. You begin to understand that nothing the world throws at you is wasted unless you choose to waste it. You begin to realize that your greatest strength was hidden inside the very thing you once feared the most. There comes a moment in every struggle when the weight feels unbearable, when progress seems distant, when every attempt ends in resistance instead of reward. In these moments, most people retreat. They convince themselves that stepping back is the logical choice, that quitting is self-preservation, that abandoning the path is a form of maturity. But retreat is rarely wisdom. It is surrender dressed in justification. Those who rise in life are not the ones who avoid difficulty, but the ones who learn how to adapt under pressure, reassess their strategy, and return with sharper precision. Hard times are not a signal to withdraw, but to recalibrate. When something is not working, it does not mean you are incapable. It means your current approach has reached its limits. And when your method reaches its limits, you do not walk away, you evolve. Recalibration is the silent power that separates the unstoppable from the defeated. It is the ability to pause without collapsing, to reflect without losing momentum, to step back only enough to see the battlefield clearly. When life blocks you, it is forcing you to think, not to flee. It is pushing you to refine your moves, strengthen your discipline, and eliminate the weaknesses that prevent you from advancing. The strongest individuals are not those who move in a straight line, but those who change direction intelligently without losing sight of their destination. They see obstacles not as final walls but as puzzles, and puzzles are not solved by force, they are solved by perspective. When you recalibrate, you shift your angle, reconsider your choices, examine your patterns, and align yourself with a more effective path. This ability to adapt is the true measure of endurance. Anyone can persist blindly, banging their head against the same barrier until they break themselves. Persistence without adjustment is stubbornness disguised as discipline. But persistence paired with recalibration is strategic endurance. It is persistence with intelligence. When you face continuous failure, do not interpret it as a sign to quit. Interpret it as data. Each failed attempt reveals something about the situation, about your timing, about your preparation, about your decision-making. If you study this information instead of sinking into frustration, it becomes the blueprint for your next move. Hard times demand that you become a student of your own struggle, learning from every blow instead of being defeated by it. To recalibrate effectively, you must first let go of your ego. Ego convinces you that your first attempt should have been perfect. Ego tells you that changing your strategy means admitting weakness. Ego insists that if something is not working, it is proof you are not meant for it. But ego is the enemy of adaptation. You must abandon the illusion that your path will be linear, that your growth will be clean, that your victories will arrive without misalignment. Every master of any craft has failed, adjusted, failed again, adjusted again, and refined their process countless times. Recalibration is the humility to recognize that your current version is insufficient for your future goals, and the courage to evolve into the version that is required. Hard times expose the flaws in your systems, your routines, your thinking. They show you where you hesitate, where you waste energy, where you lack discipline, where you rely on habits that no longer serve you. Most people ignore these signs because facing them is uncomfortable. But discomfort is the doorway to precision. When everything feels difficult, sit with the discomfort long enough to understand its message. Perhaps you need to change your environment. Perhaps you need to strengthen your habits. Perhaps you need new skills, new allies, or new strategies. Perhaps you need to eliminate distractions or destructive patterns that weaken your focus. Hard times are not random. They are diagnostic. They reveal exactly what must be recalibrated if you want to succeed. Once you refine your perspective and adjust your approach, something powerful happens. Clarity returns. Your mind becomes lighter, your vision sharper, your movements intentional. You stop acting out of desperation and begin acting with strategy. You stop reacting emotionally and begin responding intelligently. And when clarity is combined with renewed effort, your next strike becomes far more effective than your previous ones. That is why you must never retreat fully. You must return, but not as the same person who left. You return upgraded, recalibrated, and prepared to strike with precision that you did not have before. Striking again does not mean repeating the same actions with more force. It means attacking with greater insight. A recalibrated strike is efficient, targeted, and strategic. It is not fueled by panic, but by understanding. It is not driven by impulse, but by mastery. When you strike again after recalibration, you leverage everything you learned from your failures. You transform your frustration into accuracy. You convert your confusion into direction. You turn your setbacks into momentum that pushes you forward with a force you did not previously possess. Most people never reach this stage because they quit before the breakthrough. They retreat permanently when they only needed to reposition temporarily. This is the truth. Those who succeed are rarely the ones who got it right the first time. They are the ones who refuse to disappear. They studied every barrier, analyzed every mistake, absorbed every lesson, and returned with adjustments that made them impossible to stop. Life respects those who refuse to retreat, not because they are fearless, but because they are willing to evolve. When the going gets hard, your instinct may urge you to abandon the fight. But instincts are shaped by old fears, not by future potential. Recalibrate, adapt, return, strike again with a sharper mind, a stronger will, and a more calculated approach. When the path becomes heavy and the world seems determined to bend you under its weight, remember that these moments are not meant to break you, but to reveal you. Hard times separate those who collapse from those who rise, and you have now seen that struggle is not the enemy, but the element that exposes your hidden strength. The real battlefield begins inside your own mind, where fear, doubt, and frustration attempt to seize control. Mastering this internal world is the foundation of every external victory. Once you regulate your emotions and govern your thoughts, hardship becomes something far different. It becomes raw material you can reshape into discipline, clarity, and power. Your suffering is not random. It is instructive. It teaches you what you must change, what you must sharpen, what you must abandon, and what you must become. Instead of allowing pain to weaken you, you have learned how to weaponize it, how to turn every setback into momentum, every failure into strategy, every obstacle into a form of training that others run from. This is where transformation takes root, not in comfort, but in adversity that forces you to evolve beyond who you were yesterday. And when the pressure becomes overwhelming, when progress slows and doubt whispers that you have reached your limit, that is precisely the moment you recalibrate instead of retreating. You adjust your aim, refine your approach, strengthen your resolve, and then you strike again with more precision than before. Evolution is not a single moment of triumph, but a continuous process of adaptation. Those who endure are not simply stronger, they are more strategic, more disciplined, more willing to rise after every fall. Everything you face is shaping you into someone who cannot be easily moved. You are being carved by hardship into someone capable of standing firm when others crumble. You are learning to control your inner world so completely that the outer world loses its ability to dictate your fate. And each time you refuse to retreat, each time you refine your strategy and return with sharper intent, you step closer to becoming someone unbreakable, someone who does not merely survive difficulty, but uses it to rise beyond it.